Shalom, shalom, Mishpakai. This is Yer Yao. Let's go. Alright, you guys, this is Exotic Weaponry Part 2. There were some things that I didn't get into in the first video. Mainly this is what I'm about to show you, because it puts everything into perspective that we talked about in the last video. We talked about how there is an underground system of satanic worship that exists behind the scenes in America. And it exists alongside Christianity. Like, there's two opposing religions that exist one next to the other and are really antagonists of one another. That the Christian group is always after the satanic group, and the satanic group is always after the Christian group. And then we have to understand also that both groups are accredited for doing evil together too, also, because you have to recognize that in America, where these groups were both flourishing, you still had the backdrop of chattel slavery, which we know is the enslavement of the Hebrews. So we can't pretend as if the Christian group that is in battle with the satanic group is actually a righteous group. They're also not a righteous group, but just giving you some, you got some historical backdrop to what we're getting ready to talk about. There are two groups that existed in America, the Christian group and the satanic group. In America, when you had the Pilgrims coming over and waging genocidal wars against the Indians and the Hebrews that were already in the United States, because there were some groups of Hebrews already there before the slave trade. The slave trade mixed the two groups together. The group that was there was in constant battle with the other group, the satanic group, the one that was Freemasonic, the one that was involved in witchcraft, witches, and warlocks and things of that nature. The two groups were at war with one another. You guys remember the Salem witch trial, where they put all of these people on trial and accused them of witchcraft and killed them, right? The after effects was that people were pointing out witches that weren't really witches, but we don't know who they were. We don't know what the deal was then. We just know that there was a war between these two groups, and it appeared as if the Christian group won out, because the other group had to go underground. And when they went underground, boy, did they go underground. But they didn't lose a substantial amount of power. It's just that they knew that they had to keep that power hidden. So this is what we're looking at now, is that same group from the Revolutionary War days, if you will, that is in control of everything behind the scenes and has advanced technology, beyond what the mainstream media will, admit to being in use today. There is high-level technology in use today that the media will not admit exists, because it is clearly a part of that technology itself. Can't reveal that the news is the high technology, because then you lose the technology. But the news is a part of that high technology to be able to hide some of the things that are going on behind the scenes. And you remember last time we talked, we were talking about that they have, the ability to remote access vehicles and turn those vehicles into basically missiles. We saw in the last video, we saw, oh my gosh, I'm going to forget this guy's name again, Paul Walker. Paul Walker was his name, who died in the Fast and Furious, from the Fast and Furious series, who died in a fiery car crash himself. And we knew he had a new car, and he was, in the behind the wheel with a race car driver already. So all of these coincidental things about that death, show us that it was, not a natural or an accidental anything, that it was someone who wanted to, or some group who wanted to punish Paul Walker and, set him up to be killed in such a way where they could have a calling card, a signature, being the coincidence itself, you guys. We talked about last time, the hallmark in these satanic killings is the coincidence. That is the signature that the murderer leaves on the scene to let you know who did it. It's that, this was a car crash from someone who stars in a fast car racing movie. It's just so cinematic, right? Do you see what I'm saying? This is the signature that goes along with these satanic killings, is the coincidence. And the coincidence itself will be like the person, something that the person would have played in a movie, a cinematic style death. Does that make sense, you guys? So that's one of the ways that they kill people. And I want you guys to also see this in action in real time. And it's one of the scariest videos that I've ever seen, you guys. It's one of the most frightening videos that you'll ever watch on the internet, because it shows you by just the elements of the video, it gives you a peek into this surreal world. Behind the scenes of the surreal world, it's almost like you're in the Truman Show and you see the satellite fall, or you see an extra. Do you see what I'm saying? An extra that's not supposed to be there, or someone reading a script, or the background falls back and you see that it's not really a bank. Or do you guys remember the Truman Show when some background fell and it wasn't really a bank, it was just people pretending to be in a bank? This is kind of the what is it called? Breaking the fourth wall. This is breaking the fourth wall moment. The suspension of belief. Do you see what I'm saying? That this is when you pop out from the false reality and into actual reality, and you see that there's a whole lot more going on. So if you guys know who Anne Heche is, she is an actress in Hollywood. And she was, I guess like a B-level actress. I can't even really tell you what movies she played in. I want to make sure you guys can see my face here. I'm getting a little bit more comfortable. I can't really give you any movies that she's played in off of the top of my head, but she died a few years ago after a really long relationship with, and this is of course a lesbian relationship, a relationship that is, of course, is based on unrighteousness, which we know. But it's a relationship in Hollywood that was a pretty famous relationship. This is Anne Heche and Ellen DeGeneres, right? Ellen DeGeneres, who is an A-level star, had a talk show, had a talk show on cable. Is it cable? No, it's regular TV. Regular TV had a talk show on, regular TV. You could watch. Anyone in the world, anyone in America could watch. You see what I'm saying? Not pay TV, regular TV. So a star, someone like Oprah, that came on, like your local, in where I'm from is Channel 3, Channel 9, Channel 12. So what was on the regular stations like ABC, CBS, something like that. One of the ones that she was on. So famous, top A-rated star, but with just a really terrible reputation. If you've heard anything about her, it came out that she just had the most toxic work environment on the show, and a lot of people were, kind of complaining against her and saying that she was a bully and, all of these different things about her. So you do kind of get a picture as to the type of person that she is, right? And so Anne, her history, when she's dating this woman, this other woman, Anne Heche, they go through this breakup. And the breakup has been 20 years ago. We don't know, what has transpired between the two of them ever since then. We don't know if there's anything, connecting Ellen DeGeneres to this, what appears to be clearly a murder, but we all assume so, because the people with access to this type of weaponry are the people that are at the upper echelons of Hollywood, the people that are in the upper echelons of government, the people who have access to this exotic weaponry also are high-level members of the cult, you guys. And we know Ellen DeGeneres to be a high-level member of the cult. So let's just look at this video. We'll give it a lot of background information. Let's just take a look at this video. This is Anne Heche in her Mini Cooper speeding through the streets. Before we get to the actual crash, let's watch some of the video camera from some Ring television, Ring doorbell cam television real quick. And I think I can keep my mic on for this one because there's no real sound, but I think there is some sound that you guys need to hear. Damn. Oh man. Listen to it again. I'm gonna cut my mic off this time. Yeah, real tough, real sad, real hard to watch. But did you hear what sounded like brakes squealing? Did you hear the sound like brakes were squealing? Like a... Do you see what I'm saying? Almost like, not necessarily like brakes squealing, but like tires screeching. When you're driving regularly on the road, you don't necessarily screech tires. Do you understand what I'm saying? So the backstory behind this death is that she is on pills or drinking and then just took off through this neighborhood speeding at like 90, 100 miles an hour and then just ran straight on to this house because she's crazy, right? Because she's crazy. That's what they try to make it look like. But when you listen to this video, you can clearly hear screeching. And if she's just driving, you're not gonna get any screeching sounds. It's almost as if she's in the car and she's slammed on the brakes of the car, but the car wheels are still moving. Almost like there's one or two wheels that the brakes are activated, and then the other wheels, the drive is still activated. The rear wheel drive is activated while other wheels, the front wheels, are trying to brake. So you're getting a screeching sound like tires squealing and brakes squealing as she's slamming on the brakes, but the acceleration is still going. Do you see what I mean? Let me just replay that to see where if you guys can't hear that as well. And real quick, you guys, I'm going to play it for you again. Okay, you guys, am I tripping? Or did you hear tires screeching and brakes squealing? And maybe I'm tripping, but this is what I heard. As if the car is still going, as if it's being controlled remotely, and someone on the inside of the car is pressing on the brakes, but the acceleration is more powerful than the braking system, so you're getting this squealing and screeching but the car is still moving very fast. If you guys can hear that, leave it in the comments to let me know, am I tripping or not? Because that's what I hear. And that's just one part of the understanding that this car was remotely controlled and crashed into this building. That's just one part. This video is even scarier, because for me, that's a scary video. For me to know that this resulted in this celebrity's death, and it appears as if she's on the inside of the car fighting for her life, wrestling with the brakes, is scary, you guys. It's a scary thing. It's one of those situations as if you know it's out of your control. There is nothing that you can do about it. If you guys are, if you guys have some history to this channel, excuse me, I put out a video a few months back called The Game, and it's basically a synopsis of what it's like to be in this matrix of satanic worship, you guys. Elohim has created for believers, an insight into the spiritual world that goes on around us, and given us a heads up to understand that that spiritual world is a world of secrecy, a world of illusion, a world of lies, and a world of hidden power. Do you understand what I'm saying? We wrestle not against flesh and blood, of course being one of them, but another is Ezekiel chapter 8, to see in Ezekiel where the Spirit leads Ezekiel to the temple, and that there's a trap door in the temple, and on the inside of that trap door you'll have the elders of Israel worshiping pagan deities. Do you understand what I'm saying? So this technology, comes from and is associated with false worship in a lot of instances, you guys. The secrecy is because it's of the adversary, it's of the devil, the wicked one. You understand what I'm saying? So when we look at a movie, and I guess I'm just trying to describe this movie here. The video that I made was called The Game, but it's about this movie with Michael Douglas, and that's all I can remember is Michael Douglas being in it. But just to give you guys, if you haven't seen those old videos, go and watch them for me, because they really do break down that movie. And that movie really gives you an insight into how it is to be in this double world, this world of satanic cults, where everybody's living this kind of dual life, that they're doctors by day and occultists by night. That during the day, while they're doctors, sometimes their occultic activities sneak in, can be of use to anybody in that cult that needs something done. Like if you're a surgeon, but you're also in the cult, and you've got another one of your occultist friends, enemies, that's coming to have surgery, and they don't know that you two are in the cult together, but of course he gives the heads up to his buddy, hey, when this person goes into the operating room, make sure you give them a dose of da-da-da-da-da. You're insured already. Make sure it looks, make sure you get your nurses behind you on this one. And here you go into your own death trap, and then coming out from, surgery, dead. Just from just having, the wrong enemy and being at the wrong place at the wrong time. This is the way that the cult works in the background. They use, technology, people, places, whatever they can have at their disposal to get rid of you. And it's so many people involved in so many different places that you can be in it and not aware of it. This movie goes into Michael Douglas, joining this game. And this game was, nobody really told him the object of the game. He was just in the game. And he goes and, signs up for the game at his brother's request for his birthday, and then enters into this game, and then everybody that he meets is a part of the game, and he doesn't know that they're a part of this game, but they're all playing him towards, this wild conclusion, and they're all playing undercover roles, in and out of his life. Even the taxi cab driver that he hails down is a part of the game, and what he does is he picks him up, and he gets in the backseat of his taxi, and the guy says, "So where you headed?" And he said, "I'm going downtown, da-da-da-da-da." And he said, "Oh, okay, Michael." And he's like, "Michael, how do you know my name?" And he said, "Because you're in it," and jumps out. And the door's locked to the cab, and the cab takes off and runs into this water, this river, and he's got to scramble and fight his way out, because this cab driver that was, looked like he was some random cabbie that he held down, was waiting for him to wave him down, and was in the place waiting to intercept his target, because there's this other world behind the world that we know, that all exists interconnected, and you don't know about it until you can see it. They have this advanced technology that they use to carry out their missions, both on people within the circle and people on the outside of the circle. This is the root, really, of all terrorism, because terrorism is the hallmark of satanic worship. Because just as worshipers of the adversary, you have to attack people unknowingly, because the adversary requires human sacrifice. And so when we look at the things that are going on in the news, we have to always understand that there's this other world at play, and the people that are in that other world play by different rules, have different technologies in order to kill people, and use them. And so anytime we see weird things that are out of place, anything that looks suspect, with numerology, with coincidence, with any of these things that appear out of place, we know it's one of theirs. So that's a huge, backdrop for this scary video online. But again, that film, The Game, with Michael Douglas, goes a long way to explaining what we're seeing here with actress Anne Heche. So you guys, I want you to watch this whole video with me and tell me what you think, you guys. So this is Anne Heche after she's been pulled out of her car, which is then come down the street from that video that you just watched, slammed into, I believe it's this house right here, through this bush and into this house, and the firefighters are bringing her out and putting her in the ambulance. You guys watch what happens next. Even the reporter is, just, I can't think of any word to say other than flabbergasted at what happens. Let's just take a look, you guys.
Bobby and Marla, it was amazing what happened out here at LA City Fire Department. I got to give it to them right off the bat. The men and women from this fire department, some of the most amazing. Vehicle into a structure, then that car catches fire. And when we say into a structure, I mean all the way in, almost coming out the other side. This house out here on Walgrove, right at the cross of Brookhaven, at Preston, you can see that T intersection. The best we can figure, that vehicle was on this street and made its way across, not stopping ever, through those hedges, through the front door, or through that front wall of this home, and lodged itself almost in the back. Then it caught fire. LA City Fire Department arriving here very quickly. They had this home with fire, and knowing there's a vehicle inside there. Firefighters making an attack on that fire. Other firefighters trying to get into that building to get that driver out of that car. While all this was going on, they couldn't get to that car. They actually had to call in heavy rescue. That's what you see right there. They hooked up cables to that car, pulled it out. It's actually in that driveway. And then And then the driver, well, LA City Fire Department, their paramedics pulled that driver from that vehicle. We have tape of that, and then basically had him on a gurney. We weren't sure what the situation was there on his condition, but then as he made his way over to the ambulance, you see it right there, he jumps up out of that gurney. It was horrific, scary for a moment for everybody watching. And then the fire department, well, they had to sedate him and take him to the hospital right now.
Okay, they keep saying him because the person in the accident had not been identified yet. This was, a few moments after the scene happened, you guys. So they hadn't identified who it was yet. But as you can see, you guys, I'm going to go ahead and mute this, and we're going to play the video right here again. As you can see, we're going to watch it together. Now watch this, you guys. As you can see, Anne Hesh, and you can see that it's Anne Hesh if you know who she is, what she looks like. She gets up from the stretcher and tries to get out of the ambulance, you guys. Tries to get out. It's almost as if she does not want to be rescued, ladies and gentlemen. Look, she gets up. He is grabbing her arm and pushing her in. So why in the world would Anne Hesh be trying to run from the ambulance operators, you guys? It's because they're not really ambulance operators. They're not really firefighters, you guys. They are the ones who go on to murder Anne Hesh. And now they say that she was in a coma in the hospital and all that. Don't believe it. She is more than likely getting ready to be killed right there. She's more than likely going into the ambulance to her death. And you see it's ambulance number 63 right here. 6336. Do you understand that these codes are not put into this by mistake? This is how you know what's going on. They pull her into the ambulance. Here's the other thing, you guys. What is she wrapped in? What in the world is she wrapped in? Is it a body bag? Is it a burn sheet? Is it a burn sheet? If she's wrapped in a burn sheet, why is her face covered? If she's in a burn sheet, she's not supposed to have her face covered. That's going to occlude her. It's going to keep her from breathing. You guys, if you have ever been first responders, or if you've ever had any medical training whatsoever, you don't put burn pads on people's faces. You don't cover people's faces up that are breathing, that are alive. You don't cover anybody's face up. You keep the airway open. That's one of the major things that you're supposed to. It's the first thing that you're supposed to secure when you come on when you first respond to a scene. Is their airway? Why is Anne Hesh not strapped down? Why is she just being wheeled in? Why is her chest not? Why is she not being? This is the most incredible thing. That means these people cannot be ambulance operators. They cannot be. They must be dressed like it. And you can see this guy on a radio, talking on a radio, saying what? We've secured her? What did he say right here? We got her? Because he is pushing her in. You see him? You see him on the radio? You see him on the radio? See him grabbing for his radio? He's not adjusting his helmet. He's speaking on a radio, on an earbud. You guys, this is the most incredible thing, because check this out. If it was an actual first responder, you guys, they'd be shocked at her getting up like this. They're just pushing her right along. There is absolutely no reaction from the firefighters at all. They're just pushing her in the back. as if as if every day somebody comes up from out of what looks like a body bag and tries to escape off the ambulance. They just pushed her down. What about her neck? She was just in a huge car accident. Why doesn't she have a C-collar on? You guys who are first responders, anytime anybody is pulled out of a situation where they could have some neck damage, what's the first thing they tell you to do? What's the second, third thing they tell you to do? C-spine. You guys that have been first responders, C-spine. Why didn't they protect her C-spine? Why? Do you understand what I'm saying? Whatever happened was completely outside of medical protocol, which means those men were not first responders, that they were not there to help her. They were there to capture her. That's why the guy that is pretending to adjust his helmet but is actually listening to his headphones and talking to somebody is saying, "We got her." You guys, that's terrifying. That means that the fire department, the ambulance department, or the medical department and the police department all were in on what was happening. There was a police officer right there. Maybe you guys couldn't see him, but he was making sure that Anne Hesh was captured too, you guys. And I hate to keep watching this because we're literally looking at someone being carried away by their murderers right here. Do you see she gets up from out of what appears to be a body bag, and the fire department is not even surprised about that at all. They're making sure it's done. And you see the police officer come up just to make sure that it's done. You've got all these responders out here to this incident, and they all know what's going on. They know enough about what's going on to not react to the patient trying to get up off of the ambulance and save her own life. She was just wheeled away to her death, and we know that she goes on to die after this, you guys. Let me take a really quick break here, and we are going to come back with some more analysis, you guys. Stay tuned. Alright, you guys, I think this is the video that I'm looking for right here, but we are going to see if this is the one. And so we talked about before the break that we don't know whether or not Ellen DeGeneres had anything to do with this murder, but we assume she does because this is her ex and famous ex, and she would be the one to have access to this type of exotic weaponry because of the level of star that she is. Do you understand what I'm saying? The people that are at the upper echelons of entertainment and, politics and sports, I guess sports would be a part of entertainment, would have access to this type of industry, I guess you could say is the other one. They would have access to this type of weaponry, and this would not be something that is outside of their wheelhouse to use because this is something that Satanists do anyway. Do you understand what I'm saying? So let's see how Ellen reacts to this situation, to her ex, dying. So let's just take a look here.
Oh, do you want to send her any well wishes?
Ellen DeGeneres
DeGeneres is sending kind words to her ex, Anne Heche, amid her hospitalization following her life-threatening car crash.
Vehicle into a structure. We also have a structure fire, two-story, single-family dwelling, heavy smoke showing. Keep everybody coming up.
While out and about in Santa Barbara, the former daytime talk show host gave a brief comment on the actress, whom she dated from 1997 to 2000.
Have you spoken to Anne Heche at all since her accident? Do you want to...
It's seemingly true. Ellen and Anne have had little to no communication since their split. That's something Anne mentioned to E.T.
And my intent was different, and that's why we separated.
But despite the two not being in touch, Ellen still hopes Anne comes out of the accident okay.
I don't want anyone to be hurt.
Yeah, it's quite a dangerous accident that happened, wasn't it?
It was.
Ellen and Anne...
Okay, you guys, we know that their relationship, and I don't really want to just stay on this image either. We know that their relationship was over a long time ago, right? So would Ellen hold a grudge for this long? Would, there be any reason for her to be involved with this? We don't know. We have no idea as to what really, drove or what really motivated this assassination, because this absolutely is an assassination. But we can see by her behavior that even in X, even after 20 years, oh my gosh, what? This is, definitely sad. She's like, yep, I hadn't spoke to her, wouldn't know anything about it. Right? Just really, I guess the word would be non-sympathetic, no emotion whatsoever towards it whatsoever. And it is a little bit strange. And so the other part that I wanted you guys to pay attention to is that this reporter may know what's going on, because look at what he says to her right here. And I don't know if you guys are going to hear it over my microphone, but let's just try.
Ellen still hopes Anne comes out of the accident okay.
I don't want anyone to be hurt.
Yeah, it's quite a dangerous accident that happened, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah, with that British, dry wit, right? Quite a dangerous accident to happen now, wasn't it? And Ellen says, yep, sure was. You know how when people ask a question and that question is pointed in a sense that the other person knows what they're getting at with the question, even though neither party really asked the real question that they want to ask, which is, of course, did you have anything to do with this murder? And so this is what's behind the reporter's question of quite a dangerous accident now, wasn't it? And so why would he ask that if he wasn't implicating that she knows how dangerous the accident was because she was the cause of it? Now, you may think that I'm looking into this a little bit too deeply, but you have to understand that in this dual world, in this double world, you'll have people that know what's going on and will play as if they don't, but hint at knowing, so that the two involved, which both know the answers to, will be understanding, but the world at large will, not understand what's going on, in order to keep, the security of the reporter as well, because he doesn't want to expose to everyone what happens, but he does want to let Ellen know that he knows what happened. Do you see what I'm saying? If you're playing this dual game, what kind of question would you ask to let her know that you're suspicious, right? So listen to this again. Listen if you can't hear the pointedness of this question.
I don't want anyone to be hurt.
Yeah, it's quite a dangerous accident that happened, wasn't it?
It was.
Ellen and Anne have a lot of history.
And you can hear how she gets what he's doing, right? Quite a dangerous accident, wasn't it? Yep, sure was. Yep, it was a dangerous accident. What about it? What are you gonna do about it? Yep, and then keep going on my day. Do you see what I'm saying? That's like if you catch somebody, with their hand in the cookie jar, and you see them, they got chocolate all over their face, and you see the cookie jar is empty, and you say, chocolate chip cookies are delicious, aren't they? And the person with the, yep, they sure are. That doesn't admit to you eating the cookies. That just lets the person that sees the cookies are gone, and the person that could have eaten the cookies know that they ate the cookies. You see what I'm saying? Maybe that's not the best analogy to describe what's going on here. This is a murder, so it's even in bad taste to compare the two. But again, you can see that this question is pointed in a sense that the reporter has some suspicion, right? He says, quite a dangerous accident, wasn't it, Ellen? And Ellen says, sure was. You understand? That's because they both know that they're in this dual world where these type of things aren't always accidents. They both know that. And the reporter suspects Ellen. And Ellen knows the reporter suspects him, and also knows that there's nothing that he can do about it, and is able to respond flippantly because that's what they do, you guys. This is what you have to know when you're looking at things that are happening in the news, like planes running into helicopters, out of nowhere, like CEOs of companies crashing into the river and in New York out of nowhere, like cars running into traffic, or running into crowds of people, unexplainably in New Orleans and in what was it, Toronto, Vancouver, maybe it was Vancouver. When you see these things happen, they get national publicity. When you see strangeness involved with them, you have to know that if you scratch a little further, you're going to find a murder. And if you scratch even further than that, you'll end up finding the murderers too, you guys. This is your guy with Hebrew News. Be vigilant out there. Stay prayed up. Stay in Torah.